Hello, everybody. You're watching Talking Ball, where we talk all things ball. My name's Call, and I'm here with Adrian, Mr. Adrian. How are you this morning? Well, afternoon, I guess for you. But how are you doing today, bud?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for inviting me on.
Thank you for joining me on today. As you may have seen from the thumbnail, we're going to be talking a lot about Ange Postecoglou, the man we were playing the didgeridoo music for a moment ago. It's just kind of the change we've seen around the club. We're going to look a little bit about what he's done at other clubs that he's been at, and just maybe see if that can show us what we can expect from him at Spurs. It's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a fun one. Always fun to talk about Ange, just because things are so positive around the club right now. I was saying the other day, it's a really nice time to be a Spurs YouTuber because last season around this time, I guess that last season around this time it wasn't terrible, but last season it wasn't so much fun, especially towards the end. Adrian, I'm sure you were going on channels at the end of last season. You can attest to the fact that it wasn't the atmosphere around the streams wasn't as fun as it is now.
No, it wasn't enjoyable at all, was it? Not when it was the style of football. I mean, Spurs fans have suffered mostly in silence under the last three managers. It's not the way Spurs play football. Pochettino's was the way. We traditionally play attacking, fast flowing football. That's always been in history. All right. We haven't always in the past had the best defence with conceded goals, but the fans have come away enjoying games, even when we didn't have successful seasons and win a trophy. And that is the fundamental importance to Spurs fans, to play good, fast, attractive, attacking football. That's what we want to see. And if that can be combined with success, with a bit of silverware, fantastic.
All the better.
We don't want to go back to that. And under Ange Ball, we're not going back to that, because what I'm hearing and what I've seen is that this system of Ange Ball is going to permeate from the academy players through to us, and it's staying. And attacking football is going to be our football philosophy again. And what they're going to do the same is that I hope Ange stays for 8 years, then he's been successful,
Yeah, right.
Should we come to a part in history, I don't want to go too far in the future because I'm enjoying the moment, but any future manager that comes to Spurs basically has got to adopt that same philosophy or he won't get the job, you know what I mean? So long may Ange reign, long may he reign, because he's introduced, a style of football that we all love, and we all love him, and the players love it, and the atmosphere in the training ground's fantastic through the academy and all that. And when you develop that among players, they grow an affection for the club, and some of them grow to love the club, and they won't want to leave, even if some Arab state comes and offer you hundreds of millions for them. So hi, Sonny White, and and they won't want to leave because they love the club, and that is the difference. When you get players that are unhappy, you know where they're going to leave. Just simple example: if a player gets down to 2 years left on his contract, and you need to sign him up, if you ask that player to sign, and even if you offer the amount of money and he doesn't want to sign, that tells you something. You can read between the lines psychologically. That player is not happy, so he's either not getting game time or doing this, that, and the other. So sell them. It doesn't matter who they are. Sell them with 2 years to go, not with a young 1 year to go and that run down their contract. Then you sell them. But I don't think Ange is going to have that. He might have the problem with the fringe members of the squad that don't get games in the future. That might be an issue, but that's what he's paid for, and the recruitment team are paid to deal with. So that's part of his job. But that would also mean that we've got a stronger squad than we've got now when that situation arises. Because at the moment, I can see other players getting game times under Ange Ball. I can see Gil getting game times now that he's fit. He'll be on the bench Saturday, I'm hearing. So he might get game time. You don't know if Sessegnon and Lo Celso should be back by beginning of November or perhaps the last week and be ready then. So we'll see if it can get a tune out of either then. If Lo Celso's not happy to stay, or Gil at the end of the day, if Gil gets a couple of games, I think his mind will change. But if Lo Celso is a bit of a miserable influence there, well, now we've got this happy atmosphere around the stadium. You don't want him. I don't care how good he is. I like him as football. He's a good footballer. Not quite done it for us, though, is he? Done it everywhere else. So then you get rid of him.
Well, Celso's a weird footballer, by the way. It's weird how well he can do for his country, and maybe it's the style of play differences. Maybe international football isn't quite as fast and well put together. I guess I know that's not the right way to say what I'm trying to say, but club teams have all the time in the world to play together, to practice together, but it seems like it's a lot more choppy and a lot more stop-start and a lot less free-flowing international football. And maybe that suits his game better. Obviously, though, he does pretty well in Spain every time we loan him out there because they want to keep him every time. So yeah, he's a bit of an odd duck. I don't think that he really likes it in England. I think that's the main problem with him. But like you said, players like to play, and players like to play fun, winning football. And so if we continue to do that under Ange, maybe you're right. Maybe we will be able to get him to stay.
Well, Real Betis for him, win for him before. Xavi likes him at Barcelona. If he goes, he goes. Look, if you don't play for our club, I don't want you anyway. So
and I think if an offer comes in from Barcelona, he'll take it.
Yeah, he really likes his time at Real Betis. There's about 4 or 5 clubs are in for him, right? Yeah. He really liked his time at Real Betis. Even in Italy, I think Napoli were interested in him, and and they've got Champions League football. So there's a lot of interest in him. I might question the low fee, because if McAllister, who took his place because he was injured in the World Cup, had a fixed fee with, I think it was Brighton, for about 35 million. Well, if McAllister's worth 35 million, to me, I just think, I know they're different types of players. I just think Lo Celso's equal to him, if not better. So he should be worth 35 million. So we'll see in this coming transfer window, and mainly the summer one, if these European clubs are willing to cough up money, because I think they've been trying it on a lot. They'd have had a couple of seasons now. Their coffers should be filling up post-COVID now. They should be recovering from it, and they should be able to afford to play what is a fair price for a player. I'm not sure how long Lo Celso's got left on his contract, whether it's 1 or 2 years. I'm not sure. Perhaps you can check that up.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now.
If it's 1 in the summer, he might sit it out, or we'll get offers for him.
Giovanni Lo Celso, contracts. So it says
if you hi Wayne, hi Aldo Artisan, hi Sonny's wife.
Look at this. I've got a perfect co-host here. Thank you, Adrian, for saying hi to everybody for me. Yeah, I seriously can't find it. Giovanni Lo Celso.
Well, it's not so important. It's just something we're chatting about. So
yeah, nothing too big. But like you were saying, it does kind of affect whether or not we look to cash in on them this summer, or we. Yeah. Well, like you're saying, if it's 1 or 2 years, if it was up to you, that would mean we just moved him on. If he's not going to sign anything with 2 years left, right? That's your new philosophy. If a player won't sign with 2 years left, just ship him out the door. Is that how Tottenham need to be operating from now on?
Yeah, I would expect that to happen when a player's on 2 years, and Sonny will get a new contract. He'll stay, and good. I'm glad he's staying. He's the best finisher we've got, and I'm happy with some of the youngsters. If we do go for a bit of injury crisis, I actually think we can cover it with the academy players. You don't want more than one in the team at a time, but right. You can cover it with one. We can cover the wing spaces with academy players. We can cover the forward places, and even the defenders. You've got Dorrington to bring in, and he's up for Player of the Month. Dorrington is academy level, yeah. Sonny's up for Player of the Month as well, and. Vicario's up for Save of the Month.
Man, look at us. Look at us. I'm surprised Postecoglou is not in for manager of the month, but he's already won it.
He's up for manager of the month as well, yeah.
Wow. What if we just swept the whole thing? You know, that would be wonderful. One thing I wanted to ask you, Adrian, you were talking about with me at the beginning about how just the atmosphere around here is different. We've put up with such dross football. I wondered if you felt any kind of if you kind of, so you remember these two guys, and there was kind of a feel good factor, I think, around the club with both of them. I think they both played good football. Do you notice something similar, I guess, coming like along with Ange and with his style and with his attitude? Do you notice a similar harmony and unity around the club?
I mean, I drink in the Gilpin Bell before the game. Well, I don't actually drink. I go in there and have a soft one, you know what I mean? But I go in there to meet other Spurs groups and things like that. And there's just a general buzz all around the stadium. And inside the stadium, it's more of a party atmosphere now. And after the Liverpool game, it was mental. Back inside the back of the South Stand, you've got the hall area where you got that 56-meter bar and all them little fast food outlet pods, Indian food, pizza food. There's all chicken and chip food, burger food. There are all these little pods serving different food in the market area down, because you go down steps into the South Stand. So it's all opened up for those that have never been, you know. And they only allow 3,000 down there at any one time, and the stand holds 17,500. So, but after the games, the fans that come out the South Stand, they're coming down the stairs, and they hold that middle section up the steps from the market area, and they're like non-stop singing and chanting. It's mental. I mean, it's fantastic, but it's mental, you know. And it's happened every home game so far, you know. So I don't see that changing soon. The atmosphere inside the ground's buzzing for every game now. The atmosphere is really good, you know. So
long may it continue. Long may it continue. And you're right. It's the football, but it's cyclical. It all kind of feeds off each other. There's a feel good attitude around that leads to, you know, the players, you know, playing with more freedom and with more ability to express themselves without fear, you know what I mean, without worrying about making a mistake. So then the players play better, and then the fans get happier, and then the fans get behind the team more, and it just feeds upon itself, you know. And the wins are helping. I'm interested to see how we'll react, because, you know, I don't think we're going invincibles this season. Just be honest, you know. Ellie asked me if we're going to win the league, or if you know, and it's way too early to say. Of course, I don't think so. But we're definitely not going invincibles, I would say. And so I'm interested to see how everybody reacts, you know, how all the fans react who are so happy right now once we get our first loss. Hopefully, I'm just hoping that everybody can stay, you know, kind of level-headed, you know, realize that this is a process, that we're ahead of schedule, sort of like Poch. It seems like every time we start like a long-term project, we start off with a bang, and we're way ahead of schedule. So everybody,
that is the thing that's got the fan base going. You're correct in what you're saying, Colin. I mean, like, we are ahead of schedule, because I don't think any right-minded Spurs fans thought we would have started so well this season. And we've done it. We've only ever done it twice before. I mean, like, in the Pot 16-17 season, we started with the first 12 games undefeated. Then I think you go back. I mean, there might have been a season we've had so many between that and now under Conte, right? But then you have to go back. Our best ever start was the 60-61 double season. We went 16 games undefeated. And why I remember this, I don't know. But we started with 11 wins. We had a draw, and then we had another 4 wins, and like that was 16 games undefeated. All right, we're on 7. We'll win Saturday morning, and it's not a bulk 12:30, because we played 12:30 at Bournemouth, didn't we? That was an early kickoff. One of them was 12:30, you know. So
So that's not going to be our undoing.
No, we shot that fox, right? We've shot that fox, and we've moved on. So yeah. So
I like that expression. Gonna start using it, but yeah. So you think Saturday's a win guaranteed? I think you're probably right, especially as Jose was pointing out, the fact that these cats will have played 3 matches in a little over a week, whereas we'll be all relatively fresh. should give us a chance to rest some people. And I put a banner up earlier and it said not Poch. Wow, my mind is just not with me today. But Postecoglou, Ange will get it right. We were wondering how many subs is too many subs. Has he learned his lesson from the Fulham match? I think, of course, he has. And I don't know if it was so much of a learning lesson for him as if it was for the squad and maybe even Levy, just showing him what we need. But anyway,
well,
I
he'll
think
learn a lot, won't he? Because what he will have learned, what the players have learned. I mean, we always seem to be able to have a number on Man City. We usually take at least 3 points off of them, right? At home, they haven't scored a goal at White Hart Lane yet at the new stadium.
Right,
and
that's awesome.
Now we've beaten Liverpool, right? So he will now know that this team can beat anyone. We can beat anyone out there. And when you look at it, you look at the results, right? Against Brentford, we came from a goal behind. Against Burnley, we came from a goal behind. Against Sheffield United, we came from a goal behind. Twice against Arsenal, we came from a goal behind. 5 times from goals behind. That is not a fluke. This young team has got an abundance of guts, right? Of a never say die attitude. This young team, that is not a fluke, right?
Yeah.
I don't care our rivals and other so-called pundits, experts, they make me laugh. Spurs have had an easy start to the season. Really?
Are you kidding?
How many teams went to Brentford and won last year? How many teams beat Man United at home, right? Yet when we play them, they're in bad form. But you can, bet your bottom dollar that come the end of the season, Man United will be up there. Like Den Hag is not a bad manager. He's just still sorting his team out, right? And you know that Liverpool are going to be up there, and you know that Arsenal being up there. So we've had an easy start, have we? Well, bring on the hard teams then if we've had an easy start, because for me, I don't fear anyone at all. No one. We can beat anyone. We can start there. I mean, everybody's saying, Spurs from top 6 upward, British Europe. I'm looking at third. I'd expect Man City to win the league and Liverpool to come second. And I don't see we can't battle Arsenal for third. And we'll see if Chelsea get it right because Poch's got too many choices to pick from there. And same with Man United, really. They've both got big squads.
They really do, yeah.
On merit. And Newcastle will come with a charge as well. We know that. So and West Ham bought well, actually. So, these teams will all make up the top 8, I think. So we'll see.
We talk a lot about how we're doing in our mentality around the club and how that's propelling us forward and the happiness that the players fighting for each other. I won't like harp on it for very long. We've got more important things to talk about. But did you see the match or at least highlights from the Newcastle PSG, the battle of the oil clubs yesterday?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
I'm very Spurs centric, and Spurs gets me busy enough with the group going around getting all these new feeds, bits of information that I think I can post that aren't really 5th tier reports. You know what I mean? Like try tier 1 reports because they're more accurate. We're getting all the rumours now about players, and all I would say to Spurs fans out there is like, take no notice of all the links with strikers, because whether they're good or not, we are not. I can promise you, we are not going to go for a striker in January, right? That's not going to happen. Ange wants a centre-back. That is what he wants. I know we got Ashley Phillips and other podcasts said, we get a centre-back in. Phillips won't get a game. No, he wants a centre-back in to make up the 4, basically. So with Phillips, if anything goes, because Dyer, he'll be gone, like with Lloris, and Davis will have a year to go come the summer. So he might be kept as a utility, as like a squad member, down a pecking order though, So so Ange wants a centre back, and so he really wanted Tapsoba. Then you're looking at, I would love Tapsoba or Bremer, who I think we could get off of Juve, but and I think out of the 2, Juve got a good squad. I think Juve paid 34 million for him, 40 million euros. I think I'd pay 50 million for Bremer tomorrow and get him in. Just his experience. He's older, great stats. But with Spurs, it's more likely we'd go for an Adarabeao from Fulham because he can score clubs in January. He's decent, but he's a tall lad as well.
He's not getting any games for Fulham at the moment, so he should be easy to prize away from him.
So he would be easier to get if he wanted to come, because now if he really wanted to go to Monaco, he could still go. If he don't want to go, Lloyd Kelly would be a good option because he's a left-footed centre-back. He's fast. He suits the Ange system, and he can also play at left-back. So that would help if anything happened to Udogie, So, but then again, January, it's so hard to get quality players in because, it's a month, you're mid-season, you're going to go to other clubs. If they're doing well in cups or in danger of relegation, they're not going to want to get rid of their best players unless you offer, top dollar for them. So I don't know. The recruitment team down there have done well at Spurs, vastly improved our recruitment. Ange will have a list of players.
I was going to say it'll be interesting to see what he brings in. A lot of managers will come in with like a little black book or whatever they say of options that he thinks can cut it. He'll have been scouting players for years and years.
I say the centre back will be first choice because as you've only got a short period of time to sign a player, that would be the best one to get in because all else fails, Udogie gets injured. You have got Sessegnon and Davis who can play at left back. So there's cover there, right? Even if you don't bring Dorrington into the squad. But at centre back, if we lost Romero or Van der Ven, that would be a blow. I think more so Van der Ven because of his pace, actually. And Romero's no slouch, right? So
no, but Van der Ven saved us with that pace already multiple times.
Yeah, he did against Liverpool and he chased that one down, didn't he? I mean, I thought, is he going to get that? And he got it. And I thought, wow, what I mean?
Yeah, he got fairly easily. He did. He made it look easy too. He didn't look like he was overexerting himself.
Yeah. So I think centre back is the priority. I could see. I mean, there's so many midfielders out there. Most clubs are well stocked with midfielders. That's where most squads seem to be heavy anyway. I could see us going for a midfielder, but we'd only sign one if Højbjerg goes. Sorry, Ellie. I don't think he walked off down a tunnel during the Liverpool game at the end of the game while all the other players were celebrating, apparently. So I don't think Ange fits Ange's plans. He'd get game time if he's here to the end of the season. And then he'd have an opportunity for Ange to change his mind. I don't mind Højbjerg. He's been a good servant.
But if he wants to go, I'd say let him go.
Yeah, I don't see him staying, though.
Yeah, if he doesn't want to be here, I don't want him here. I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean he was one of those players in the Fulham match. I'm not sure what he was told about what kind of game time he'd be getting or whatever, but he seemed completely disinterested in that Fulham match. The loss, he seemed like he was just ready to – he had already left in his mind, and the move didn't materialize. He didn't end up leaving that window, but he just seemed like a player who was already had a foot out the door. And if that's the case, and that's the way you're going to play and treat my club, the club that you or I or we would die to go out and put on that shirt and step on that pitch. And I want the players to feel the same way.
Yeah, Atletico Madrid were interested in. There's other clubs that are interested in because those that play at distance, it suits. And he's at least a £30 million player for the job he can do for teams. He got 4 goals last season. I can't remember. Was it 5 or 8 assists, something like that? And he played 30 odd games. I mean, he never gets injured. The amount of games he plays, he never gets injured. And all them games for Denmark as well on top. And I'm not against keeping him. Skip's going to stay because he's homegrown, right?
And I think Skip's the worst player of the two, unfortunately. But
look, to be fair to Skip, he's done well when he's come in. When he's come back for injuries and tried to strike up his form, fans have dipped him out, right? Mm-hmm. But we don't know. I mean, like Skip under Conte, I thought Conte stifled a lot of players. I think there's more to Skip. I think Skip's got a higher ceiling. I really believe that because he did so well at Norwich. He did well when he came on the team, when he was allowed to be a bit expressive. And him and Højbjerg, actually, they played much better when Bentancur was fit. And when Bentancur got injured, I think it affected both their games. But I just think Skip was playing under orders like a lot of players were. I think Conte ruined some of our players. He didn't actually ruin them, but he spoiled what they could give us. He prevented them from giving us more because he's so defensive. And yeah, no, I think there's more to Skip. But you look at it, you got Madison as homegrown, Skip, right? Then there's Ashley Phillips, and Pap Sarr will be homegrown next season. Now
I keep forgetting about that. That's awesome.
Because he would have been registered with the club for 3 years before his 21st birthday. So this is why, if we're going to bring young foreign players in, bring them in young. So as when if they're like 17, you bring them in, approaching their 18th birthday even, and you've got them on a 5-6 year contract, which is the norm now. Then by the time they're 21, they'll be classed at homegrown. And if it doesn't work out for them, or they're not good enough for Tottenham because we're evolving, we want to be up there, up the top of the table all the time, then you'll get a premium price for them because they're homegrown. Because we all know how much homegrown players go for on the Premier League compared to people we can get in like Vicario and Udogi in Italy for what we look now as peanuts, even Bentancur, for what he costs, So, and then the academy is about producing a pathway for players into the first team squad. But it's also about making money. The whole club's also about making money. And if you sell a few of these on for 20s and 30 millions, the academy's paying for itself. You can now invest even more money in the academy to really turn.
I'd say the academy could just consistently sell players for $5 million, just consistently get them out. Did you just have a tea refill? That's good service right there, sir.
It's coffee.
Even better. I'm a coffee guy myself. But yeah, if we could just consistently churn out £5 million players just to kind of, sell to lower teams down, the pecking order of the leagues, I think that would be great. I know that I guess the championship would probably, be the only other league paying $5 million, but you know what I'm saying? We need to constantly be getting players out and not letting them leave on freeze. That's one thing for sure. But, yeah, I just wanted to pull up this image real quick. I thought this was glorious. This is the man, everybody. This is the man that's going to change our squad. This guy right here. And what a beautiful haircut that was. I think that's back from his playing days, when he was a bit of a hard-nosed defender, which I like. I think you can see that in his coaching style that he was a defender at one time. He definitely gives them license to really go in and smash people, which I enjoy. But I think it's about time, Adrian, for a quick keep or West Ham. But before that, I wanted to just bring up this comment. Forgot to bring it back up, but thought it was awesome. Sonny's wife says, I think we could win the league if there were no injuries. Big dream. I mean, what's to say we couldn't pull Leicester? Teams around us. Yeah, teams around us aren't doing it. Teams around us are faltering. You talk about United playing poorly.
Why not? You've got other podcasters. You've got different tones of podcasters out now. They want to conduct their podcasts down to them. I find some of them a bit negative to me. Others are like more chill, and others are more mature and sensible, and others are very serious. So, and I'll bounce on and have a listen to all of them, see if I think they've got something good to say. If they have, I'll hang around in the background. If not, I'll move on because I'm subscribed to about 25. So, yeah, but you'll get, why not? And it's not delusional to dream. I mean, this is another thing that gets me when people say, oh, yeah, look, it's all gonna fall apart. We get a few injuries. Hang about. We are where we are now. We're in a good place. We've beaten Liverpool. Enjoy the moment, celebrate, and all that.
Exactly, live in the moment. People want to live in the future and have all these nightmares about what could happen. But
yeah, if you can't enjoy the moment, why don't be involved in sport at all? Because you'll never enjoy anything. So just enjoy 100%. The moment. And expectations have been raised because they've had such a good start. So why not? Why not? If you can beat Liverpool, and we've got a good record against Man City, and we've drawn away with Arsenal, we beat Man United at home, that's 7 points we wouldn't have got last season. That's big. That's massive. In the round robin, if you consider yourself a top 7 team, then you'd be playing 12 games of 36 points, right? If you consider the higher, it'd be less. So in the round robins of those games, to take 7 of those points already, it's massive. It's huge. So, like, and it augurs well for the future. And I think, barring a big run of injuries, I think we can cope with it to January. And I think we'll get 2 signings in January. Definitely, hopefully, it's a centre back. And if Højbjerg goes, it'd be a midfielder. But if Højbjerg stays, I haven't got a problem with it. I haven't got a problem with it at all. And the other thing I didn't mention, I wanted to mention about the break, the winter break. Because you've got 2 tournaments coming up. You've got the Asian Cup and
AFCON.
AFCON. AFCON is from, I think it is mid-January, 12th of January or something to the 11th of February. And the Asian Cup overlaps it by 1 day. It starts a day early and finishes on the 10th of January. But the winter break, the Premier League winter break, is from the 14th of January to the 30th of January. So the winter break cuts into both those competitions. So we will have players at the training ground getting extra training under Ange, resting, recuperating if they've got a few knocks. So that's all a positive as far as I'm concerned. So up to the 30th of January, we are fine. All right, Sonny will be away if he's not injured, and the other 2, Sarr and Wasnam will be away with Mali and Senegal. And see if they're if their clubs get through to the final, or not.
Right.
Not they'll be back earlier, won't they? So from the 14th to the 30th, you've got the winter break, but from the 11th or 12th of January to the 11th of February, both those other cup competitions fall into that. So we're not actually, if both them clubs get knocked out of the competition, they could be back by the time the winter break's over, and they might not miss no games.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. I think Korea have a pretty good chance of progressing. You know what I mean? Pretty far into that tournament. But yeah, that's a very good point about the fact that depending on how these countries play, these African nations, they might be back. Yeah, before we even really notice they're gone. And then hopefully we'll have Bentancur back then. January transfer window will be open, and so we maybe will have brought somebody in. Depending on how bad we need cover, if there's injuries, like you were saying, like we were also saying, we're sure that there'll be a little book from Postecoglou of players that he's scouted that he thinks can make the jump up to Premier League level. What's the fella's name? Is it Jota? Are you very familiar with him? The guy that he had at Celtic.
Well, he's surplus to requirements in the Middle East, isn't he? Because they've got their full quota of foreign players.
Yeah,
Celtic sold him to them for 25 mil. I think they'd be embarrassed if they gave him back to them for nothing. But with other clubs knowing that they've filled their foreign quota, no one's going to go and offer 25 mil for him because they know, well, what are you going to do? You got the player in, you got bundles of money anyway, you can take it off, we'll give you 10 mil for him. I mean, as he's worked with Ange, would he want to work with Ange again? Does Ange want him, or has Ange moved on? Don't forget, we've got Gill. We got Brennan Johnson. Do we need him? Well, Brennan Johnson possibly out for another week. He's got a pole, that's all. So he might be out for
too bad.
Gill will be on the bench. All talk is that Gill will be on the bench against Luton. So
I hope he gets minutes. I hope, even if it's just a few at the very end, it'd be great. And we know that Poch is clearly, and I know that Brennan Johnson's not a hidden gem, Adrian. I get that. People knew about him. He showed a lot of promise for Forest, but it's not a player that I had on my radar. And so the fact that he's come in and his top choice for the summer was a player that I hadn't really even heard of, I think is a good sign, and I think shows that he's got his eyes looking everywhere and not just at established names, like Mourinho, like Conte, that he's willing to go for take more of a punt on players.
Yeah, he is. I mean, Brennan Johnson still has got to convince us. He showed a bit of promise against Arsenal. What I watched him before we got him, I wasn't overly impressed, I've got to admit. Fast carrying the ball going forward, and I didn't see a lot else from him, to be honest. All right, he scored about 10 goals in the league the year before. He's still got to do the business to convince. But he looked with them couple of chances he had against Arsenal. All right, he's got an eye for goal. What you had with a lot of wingers in the past, a lot of them, were good on the ball, but they rarely scored. If he can, be a 1 in 3 score rate, which is good because 1 in 4 is good for a winger and a mid. So
Adrian,
if he can be a 1 in 3 goal scorer, that would be excellent. Right? That would be excellent. So then he'll be good. Gill, he showed flashes. People say he was a bit lightweight, could get brushed off the ball. But even under Conte, when he was out the season before and they were out in Korea training, it was him, I think, and Pep Sarr that were the fittest after the Marine put them through their paces. And the reason Sarr's keeping Skip out the side is because he's so super fit. He's super fit and shown it in training, So is Gill. Gill's super fit. We know Gill's skillful. We know he's got all the tricks in his locker, but it's a question whether he can adapt his skill to the Premier League. We'll see. He'll get a chance. None of these players are going anywhere till January or to the end of the season. And we know, and we would get money for Gill, and we would get money for the Celso. So that all adds to the transfer fund kitty, and so obviously you want them to do well. You always want players to do well, don't you?
Of course. I mean, it's their career. They put their whole life into it. Yeah, of course.
Of course. I mean, let's hope Gill can do something special. We know that.
And we'll need him now that Solomon's injured too. He'll have a chance to really come in and show himself.
When people talk about injuries, even if Gill and Lo Celso wanted to go back to Spain, they're under contract. They ain't going nowhere unless the club or Ange wants to get rid of them. If we've got injury problems come January, winter, when we're going to be playing a game every 4 days, then when the fixtures start to pile up a little bit, we'll still have more free time than other clubs around us, the top clubs that is. Then we'll keep them both to the end of the season. And we've got academy players we can bring in. I mean, I'm optimistic. I don't never take the pessimistic route anyway. But I'm optimistic. The under 21s won 6 out of 6, 8 out of 8 if you include the 2 in the EFL Trophy. They're bombing along. I mean, the players are. They're flying. But those players are about 2 seasons to go because they're young. They're not like under 21s. Oh, they're all nearly 21. That's not the issue. They're 17, 18, these players, So that
you can't expect everybody to pull a Wayne Rooney and be ready for Premier League play at 16 years old.
And they need to be assessed after a season. This is the problem we have with fans and players. And they go, look at a player abroad and he plays 3 or 4 games and he's good. Oh, yeah, get him. Look at Gift Orban last season. He's not hit the ground running this season. And yet everybody wanted him. But the reason... But they were doing more of the risk assessment with Paratici, who'd looked at Brennan Johnson for a couple of seasons and liked what he saw. Ange just looked at him, and apparently Ange wanted him. And because he'd done it in the Championship and the Premier League, he wasn't a risk of like Gift Orban was. So we've got him. I'm not saying we'll see you don't write Gift Orban off. I mean, it's early into the season. But it's like with the academy players. It's hard when people say, oh, yeah, this player's good. He's playing well. We should have got him and we should have got him. Hang about. You've watched these players for you need to watch them for a season, And back in the day, you judge a player on their second season, even if they had a good previous season. You judged them on their second season, So if we don't want to start bringing in bad signings, I mean, you look at our 4 worst signings, possibly. Davinson Sanchez, 40-odd million. Then you got Lo Celso and Ndombele. That lot come to 150 million. Richarlison hasn't cost 60 million. It's about 40, 45 of add-ons, right? He's not going to make the add-ons the way it goes. But if he becomes surplus to requirements, would have spent 200 million on 4 players that haven't cut the mustard. Yet, we got Udogie, Vicario, Van der Ven, Romero, Bentancur, Kulusevski, Basuma, Madison, and those 8 players come to 200 million. There's no comparison, is there? Right?
Not at all. Not at all.
So like all them players have done really well, right? Really well. And afternoon, beer talk, mate.
Yep.
Yeah, they've all done really well, and you know they will continue to do so. You know, we got a young squad, third youngest squad in the league, which will only get better. And Ange ball hasn't clicked yet. I mean,
right? He'll say as much. He'll tell you.
Last few days when they stopped crying their eyes out, right? Oh, they want a separate set of rules from them to everybody else. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, when we play you in May, we'll smash you. No, you won't.
Oh yeah.
Because we've got every chance of coming up to Anfield and absolutely battering you. And the reason why, before we get to May, by the time Ange wants them to play Ange ball instinctively, but every time does that, and we're slick at our most slickest, Liverpool, you've got a lot to worry about when we come to Anfield. So has every team that's going to play us now. Because the more games we play, the better we're going to get, right? And then other teams will be playing. They'll be playing low blocks against us at home, you know, because they won't be able to cope before we play, you know.
Absolutely, 100%. I think the more Liverpool make of this whole fiasco now, I think the more it's going to fuel our players. And like you said, we're just gonna go to Anfield and smash them. I truly believe it. By the way, we've got some regulars that have been coming into the house. I have not been keeping up with the chat today. Beer Talk is here saying, Morton likes secured apologies for your tardiness. Hey, no sorries necessary, buddy. Stuff your sorries in a sack, man. No sorries around here. And we got Donna Sievers, relative of mine, saying just watch the doc on Cornwall, Brighton, Clifton shit. That's one thing the Premier League doesn't do is show the town of the game. I get what you're saying. There's not very much footage of like Brighton or you know, an area before the match starts. That's a good point. American sports, they do a better job of that, Adrian. They kind of show you, you know, some behind the scenes of the town and stuff for matches. But yeah, that's awesome. Hopefully that was an awesome documentary there, Donna Sievers. And then Adrian's wife, or sorry, Sonny's wife, that's hilarious, was agreeing with you, Adrian, on something there. I can't even remember what you guys were talking about at the time, but she agrees, so that's a good thing. Oh, and she was also talking about, she heard your washing machine finish. She said it sounds like their house.
Yeah. Oh yeah, mine.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think it's time. Let's do just this one quicker West Ham. I just have one player for today and then a question on another thing after that. So if you're ready for this awful / amazing intro, here we go. God, I love that. 2 years on, and I still get a smile every time I watch that awful video. Gotta love it. Welcome to Keeper West Ham, the internet's favorite Tottenham game show. Very glad to have you here. Yeah, maybe it is time to bring the stash back. Beer Talk says time for the stash. Yeah, I might bring it back. My wife gets mad every time I do it, but she doesn't stay very mad for very long. So today we've got two things I want to ask you guys. The first one is a normal Keeper West Ham. Let me get it up here. But it is Cocker versus Tanganga. Both center backs, both players that came through the club. Am I correct, actually? Am I talking out of my ass, Adrian? Did Stephen Cocker come through the youth academy?
I'm not sure he did. I think, didn't he come from something like, I can't remember. I don't think he did. Not Corker, no. I think we got him as a youngster of some. We might have paid a nominal fee for him. He might have come from a car.
Okay, yeah. Like that. It said he joined our youth team. He said that he played as an under 16 during the 07-08 season. So I think he played with us a lot. If we got him real young. But
yeah, maybe he did. I don't remember.
So we've got him and we've got Tanganga today. Two players who I thought came from the youth academy, maybe not. But but two players, you know, who came in who were kind of tipped to do big things with the club and never really did them. Who do you, if you had to choose one to say?
Did I take his word for it? I would keep Tanganga because I've seen when he's not been injured, I've seen a little bit more for him. I've seen him have good games against Liverpool, particularly he had one great game against Liverpool. I see him have a couple of good games against good teams, but he's always injured, so he's got no future there now. Not now. We've got Van der Ven, Romerio, and Ashley Phillips and Dorrington. He's got no chance, you know. Even at fullback, he's not good enough, you know. So, but if I was forced to keep one out of two, I would keep Tanganga and get rid of Corker.
Yeah, I think that'd probably be most people's choice, just for one, because Cocker was so long ago. It's kind of hard to remember the good, but he was tipped to do big things. He did look like he was going to be, you know, a starting player for us for a long time. He looked like we had maybe, you know, had a good long-term center back option there. Beer Talk says that he has an unexplainable love for Tanganga. Keep him. He's a great guy too. The one other thing I have to think about is that Tanganga would fetch a fee. He's on loan this season, right? A loan with an option, I think. But Tanganga, I feel like you could get 5 or 10. You could get 5 or 10 mil for the guy, whereas, you know, Stephen Cocker left at a different time. But I don't know what you get for him today. Being homegrown, decent fee maybe, but Cocker got an England cap. Tanganga will never play for England. That's a good point. But still, he'd keep Tanganga though. I was gonna say Cocker, if I remember correctly, and I think I am. He had a lot of promise. He really looked like he was gonna step up, and so did Tanganga. I mean, under Mourinho, even Tanganga got time. You know, he's looked really, really good. You know, at times, but yeah, he's not gonna make it, like you said. I think part of what was his downfall, Tanganga, was one, his size, and two, I think young players who can play multiple positions, I think that's to their detriment at times. You know, we had Eric Dyer, who spent a lot of time switching between defensive midfielder and center back. I think that kind of takes away from your time to really get a feel for either of the positions.
And he played left centre back, right centre back, and Mourinho said, I see him more as a fullback. I mean, come on, you've got to make your mind up. And again, I would go back to with some of the players we've got now, Skip, when you talk about him and players like that. I mean, when you've had to play under Mourinho, or like Nuno, I didn't know much about, and Conte, right? So we're seeing how well Bissouma's playing now. Conte's gone. So you apply that, the freedom he's given, and the freedom Ange has given Maddison, not to restrict him, even like Southgate tried to do with the England side. So, I mean, this is why I think Skip has got a higher ceiling. I see him do a couple of them reverse quick turns that Bissouma does in a couple of games. You've got that in your locker. Now, I don't know if you could do it more often. He's nowhere near Bissouma's class as you look at him, and you know, I don't know if he'll have a long-term future at Spurs. I know he'll be kept because he's homegrown. If he has got a long-term future and he can't perform, then he's going to just be low down the pecking order, because you got your 11 you pick, haven't you? You got 5 out of 9 on the bench, that's 20, and you got 5 don't make the match team squad. And all you got to look at, everyone's fit. If everyone's fit, you can read Ange's mind, because like, who are the regular 11 to 13, say, off the bench, because you would include Emerson Royal in that as well, like, you know. And then you think, who are the regular subs he tends to bring on, barring injuries to players, you know, because then you're forced to make a certain substitute. Right. And then who's the 5 that are left out of the squad? Because if you're the 5 that are left out the 25-man squad, then unless you're injured or serving a suspension or something, your future's pretty bleak, in my opinion, you know. So yeah, I'm always looking for signs. I was doing that. I still haven't got my head quite round Ange ball, but
You were saying earlier you were having yesterday, I think, that you still haven't quite sussed it out all the way. You're still kind of trying to get a grasp on exactly what Ange Ball is at Spurs and exactly what
he
he
normally plays with a 6 and 2/8 in the middle. He has played with a 6/8 and a 10. In some rare games, he's played with a 6 and 2/10. You know, so then you'd be thinking Maddison and perhaps Decky as 2/10s. You know what I mean, or things like. But with these inverted fullbacks tucking in, really, I've seen Porro.
That'd be quite a congested center of the pitch if you played with 210.
I've seen Porro tucking when the midfielders go forward, right, to make an extra man in midfield. I haven't seen Udogie tucking. Udogie does what he wants. He just bombs up and down the left. So Ange might think, sod it, just let him do it because that's what he's good at. You know what I mean? And he contained Salah well. Salah didn't have an awful game, but he contained him okay, Udogie. You know, he's been so impressive, hasn't he? Like our back four is as good as any back four in that Premier League. And Vicario is showing that he's a quality sweeper keeper. He's confident, commanding in there. He comes and grabs balls. He makes saves with his legs, and he's got an accurate throw. And when he's got the ball, Vicario, he don't. Remember Lloris in the box? Lloris has like 5 minutes to have a look around. Like, you know what I mean? Who am I going to give it to and all that? Vicario's no. And this is probably Ange. I want the ball in play quickly. And Vicario gets the ball into play quickly, whether it's a kick or an accurate throw, he does it. And like, he's looking quality. And we looked at him under Paratici for about a season or two. So whether Raya was our first choice or not, I don't care. If you ask me now, Raya or Vicario, I'd want Vicario every day of the week.
Same here.
I'm not bothered about it, you know, especially for under 20 million quid, you know. So
yeah, absolutely. I think we definitely got the better option there. And then real quick, Donna Sievers asked to see the owner of Spurs. That is Joe Louis in all of his old man glory. And then yes, we did have Ellie in the chat. Hi, Colin. I just woke up from a slumber. I'm so tired, but I wanted to say hello, and I replied to your WhatsApp message, Hunt. Love and respect as always. Come on, you Spurs. Ellie, thank you so much for stopping by to say hey. I know that your plane got delayed. If you don't mind, sorry. I hope you don't mind me telling people, but you are sleepy. It has been a long journey home for you. Not distance long, but time long. So glad you're home, glad you're safe, and we'll see you on the next one. Get some rest tonight. Thank you for stopping in to say hello. Stick with us as long as you like, but if you need to get some sleep, get some sleep. Donna Sievers, again, you're saying that there was a point where Maddison briefly got mad at Son for shooting instead of passing. I mean, that'll happen in any game. I think that that's common thing. Just in the moment, you're just like, what the hell? I was open here. Why did you force that shot? I don't think it means anything. Nothing to read into there. That's just normal, game stuff. But yeah, that the owner of Spurs is right here, Joe Louis. Beautiful man, beautiful guy. I'm not even sure he's alive. I haven't seen him without sunglasses on for such a long time. Well, I don't know.
All of Lewis's family, his stake in Spurs and all that, it's all been put in the family trust for the daughter and all that. Right? So they've got it. And it was done. Maybe he smelt these court cases coming in America and whatever. It was done the year before. So what happens out there will not affect Spurs whatsoever. ENIC owned 70% of Spurs. Don't know. I mean, like Levy owns like up to 30% of ENIC, and there's about 13%. There's about other 30,000 shareholders or something, but they could own anything for a dozen shares to 100 or whatever. I mean, I don't know, but so there's those as well. So that's the way it is. I mean, like, if you ask me today, would I like new owners? Of course. What fan wouldn't want rich owners to come in and buy this club and invest money in it and clear the debt?
Yeah, I would just hope that it would be. I know that big money like that is never really all the way clean, but I was talking yesterday in a little stream I did, a real silly, stupid one about Newcastle, like I was saying, but about how it's sports washing, without getting too political, what Saudi Arabia is trying to do. And I think it works. I think sports washing works. I think that that's a good way to get, you know what I mean? people's perceptions of you as a country to change, is to I mean, they're rescuing Newcastle. They're making Newcastle, the team they once were, and so I think, I don't know, it's going to change the perception of Saudi Arabia, and there's all kinds of bad stuff going on there. I don't know. Anyway, it's hard. And are you allowed to separate the football from the things going on? Like, am I allowed to watch a Newcastle match and enjoy when they beat PSG? It was Oil State versus Oil State yesterday. But let's change back to the topic at hand, the topic of this episode today, which is Postecoglou. I wanted to share this here. I have just a list of the trophies that he's won throughout his career. Probably kind of hard to see, but he has won. We'll probably count out the U17 stuff, but he's won an Asian Cup with Australia, which is not easy to do. He's got one Scottish Cup at Celtic. He's 4 times Australian champion, and I love this about him. He won the league with South Melbourne FC, and then came back and won the league with Brisbane Roar. I just love it. He's an OFC Champions League winner with South Melbourne FC. He's won he's been 2-time Scottish champion both years he was at Celtic, 2-time Scottish League Cup winner at Celtic, and 1-time Japanese champion with Yokohama and Marinos. And it's just like, this guy wins wherever he goes. He always says that he loves a rebuild. I don't think that it's that far-fetched to think that maybe this is where we finally get a trophy.
Yeah, and he adopted his football philosophy from Ferenc Puskas, who came to after retiring and winning. I mean, brief little thing on Ferenc Puskas for those that are young here and don't know, right? Ferenc Puskas scored, I think it was 617 goals in 618 games. And he scored 84 international goals and 85 international games. That's why you've got the Ferenc Puskas Award for the best goal each season in Europe. Right?
Okay.
He won European Cups with when he moved out of Hungary with Real Madrid, obviously. And he'd taken on the football. Now, with that, I could give you, this would take too long for me to go through all the history of how Spurs were responsible for and were pioneers for total football that Dutch played in the 70s. But just
push and run, all that.
We can do that in another podcast some other time. So this attacking brand of football that he played now was like Ange played for Ferenc Puskas. This is how through the football in ether, like the history of football, how Ange has ended up with Spurs. It almost seems like preordained, and so he liked the Puskas way of playing and adopted it, and he's carried it with him all through management. So Puskas got it through the Hungarian teams. We're going back through history.
Hungary was quite a force. Football really changed. Hungary was responsible.
After the war, they came to England. They beat England 6-3 at Wembley. And the replay in Budapest, they beat England 7-1. And they were playing the brand of football because through the 20s and 30s under Peter McWilliam and then Vic Buckingham, who took over. I mean, Spurs football was called the Spurs way of playing. When everybody was playing kick and rush football in the air, because there were muddy pitches and balls would get stuck in the mud and all that, they were playing football on the deck, right? And so what happened was, so impressed were they, the Hungarians at the time, they asked Spurs coaches to go over and teach them. So the coaches went over and taught the Hungarians, returned during the war years in 42 or something like that, returned because of the war and all that. And the Hungarians carried it forward. As you say, after the war, they spanked Wembley. Then after that, later on, the galloping major, Ferenc Puskas, because he was a major in the Hungarian army, he plays for Hungary. He adopts all the ideas they're playing, which all originated from Spurs, And in the 60s, when Bill Nicholson is winning the double, he's winning European Cups with Real Madrid, and so on. I mean, I could go through the history because I've studied it.
Yeah, it's really cool how it all intertwines, though.
Yeah, and I could add other managers as well. This is why when people say to me, "Oh, look, the greatest English player that England have ever produced in my mind is Glenn Hoddle," right? The greatest team I ever watched was the double side play. I'm old enough to have watched them, not appreciate what they did because I was only 5-6 years old on relative shoulders. You know, it was either follow Spurs, you're inducted into Spurs because your family are. It was either follow Spurs or the orphanage, right? You know what I mean?
Get out of here.
It's like, exactly. So you watch it, and when people say, "Oh, put a statue up for Jimmy Greaves," put that. Look, I don't mind these players being honoured, and whether they'll do something in the future in the Spurs Museum or whatever, big murals up of teams and whatever, because you can't have like 30 statues around a stadium. It's ridiculous.
It would look odd. It would look strange. Yeah.
If you're going to put statues up, then what about one to Pete McWilliam, and I'll come to later, or Vic Buckingham, right?
Where does the list end?
Instrumental pioneers in total football, which I could go to at a later stage, you know, but and talk to you about them, like, you know, probably another podcast. We can do a historical perspective of Spurs history, right? And
that sounds wonderful.
Yeah, we could do one. So like,
we absolutely will.
Yeah, so we'll see. So yeah, so to me, Ange is a right fit. You know, he's the right fit for Spurs. Everyone loves him. They're loving him more each day. You know, we're loving the football. And I'm confident if he gets the signings he wants, we're going to terrorise other teams in the Premier League. We will spank them. One thing I've noticed in particular, I have had no issues with our midfield and our back five. Even Porro's impressed me now. And I still question him when crosses come from the right over his head and he's standing like a statue on a far post. And
right, that is one thing.
Mistakes at times, and a fan base will be at them like straight away because you know what our fan base are like.
For sure.
But it's the front three. I mean, apart from at Burnley, I mean, we're doing well, but there's so much more to come, isn't there? No matter what permutation Ange has used for his front three, the front three really haven't really clicked, have they? They haven't all clicked on the same day, in my opinion. There's arguments. I'm a big fan of Kulu. I know some fans aren't. We know
I am. So I'm on the same page as you.
So we know Son's a cert. So fans are always debating who should play on the left and who should play on the right of Sonny. You know, I mean, we've got options. Even from the academy, we've got options. But yeah.
So that brings me to something else I wanted to ask. So if we presume that Brennan Johnson's going to mainly play on the right, who by the end of the season, do you think that we'll see? Let me get this banner off here. But do you think by the end of the season we're going to see Decky or Brennan Johnson as the main player in that position, or is it horses for courses, depending on the opposition?
I don't see Brennan Johnson being a threat for Decky or the other way around. I mean, Brennan Johnson played on the left away to Arsenal, didn't he?
He did.
I mean,
he did.
He looks he can play through the middle and play on the right as well. We haven't paid that money for him to sit on the bench. So Solomon looked good for me for the first time away at Burnley, 2 assists and all that. Didn't look great when he came on when he played against Liverpool.
You're right. Yeah, agreed.
He got a fair bit of the ball, in my opinion. But I'm not. Look, I won't judge Solomon or Johnson to the end of this season. I don't care if they go for a bad patch. I'm not going to judge them because it isn't enough games. But the Premier League is unforgiving. You're expected to hit the ground running, you know, and you hope players do, like Udogie, Van der Ven, you know, and Decky did and Bentancur did, you know, when they first came, they sort of hit the ground running. But I'm not going to judge Brennan Johnson or Solomon, you know, until this season's done.
And that's fair. That's very rational of you. I don't think a lot of people give players that much time. So good on you for, like I said, being rational and smart with that, because a lot of people instantly will judge players. You know, 2 to 3 matches, they'll say, "Oh, they've got it. They're world class." And you know, I think a lot of people judge players too quickly. You mentioned quickly Destiny Udogie. It says that no player has won possession in the attacking third more times than Destiny. 8 times so far in the Premier League this season. I just saw that stat and wanted to throw it up there. That is quite something.
To me, I think he's the best left back in the league on current form. On current form, that could change. You know.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
On current form, tell me who's as equally as good or better. If there is someone, well, he's still up there anyway. You know, if he ain't the best, he's got to be in the top three. You know, so
and
that
so
might be
young. When we all
coming out.
So are we like kind of really parting ways completely with Paratici? Has that already happened yet? Do you know?
No, he's still consultant.
I'm glad because so many of the players that he brought in, good.
And they're still using him. Apparently, they're still using him.
Good, because the players that he brought in, of course, there were a couple of stinkers, and we didn't think he was doing it. And there were all the memes about, oh, Paratici's cooking and people making fun of him. But if you look back at the players he's brought in, even just Kulu, Bentancur, Destiny, you know that he had to have a hand in Vicario. So I mean, and Romero.
Scott Munn's got to bring the thing is what they're going to do when Scott Munn brings a DOF in, the director of football in, that director of football has to be in line with Ange's thinking and the way the club are progressing now. It won't be, for Spurs fans, needn't worry about bringing one in who's going to tear it all up and go a separate way. That is not going to happen. That is not going to happen. Not what I've heard, either for Ali Gold and another source. But yeah, it's not what I'm hearing.
You got secret sources, Adrian?
No, not really. I've got a guy who works at the training centre, but he's
cool.
Like he's an ordinary. Well, I'll say he's an ordinary worker. He works on one of the teams there on the. Just say on the physical side, like, you know. But he don't get no tips or anything great and all that. They just get to hear the rumours, maybe, you know, hours before we get to hear them, like, you know, and might say, look, I've heard this. I go, okay. Well, I say I can't chat about it. I'll mug myself off if the information's wrong. You know what I mean? So, like, no, yeah. I used to listen. I used to talk to players and mix with players back in the day. Used to go
back when you could. You used to be able to do that.
Yeah, when the old ground in the players' lounge in Chanticleer, you had a players' bar upstairs lounge. Used to mix up there with Johnny Pratt and players like that. And
how'd you get access to that? That sounds awfully cool.
Did mix more. You know, I've met loads of players. I've met Chivers, Gilveys, and Peters. I've met them in the local pub, the Orson Groom, you know, Ralph Coates and all that. And like, I've met Ruddock, you know, Milio Lexic, the goalkeeper, Perryman. I can't remember off others. You know,
I would love to meet Perryman.
Mickey Hazard I met when he first come down. And I've been out with Mickey Hazard one night. I was out on a
no way.
In the he doesn't even remember me now. I went up and said, "He don't remember." He's probably met thousands of people over the years. He's not going to remember me. But when he first came down from Sunderland, he stayed with a mate of mine because players used to put the young players in lodgings. And a guy I knew, Chris, on a site I worked on, Mickey Hazard was staying with his family, so he come to the site and then we met him and I sat with him in one game when he wasn't playing. He was injured or something. Down at the park.
So when you guys went out, did you get a little wild? Did you have a wild time?
No, he weren't. He never come across it. Both the lads actually never come across as drinkers and that.
That's probably good.
Yeah, I was in a Corbury club. We went one night and they were just pretty like sort of quiet, just to, you know, in there admiring the talent, you know, things like that. So
yeah. Well, that's awesome. That's really neat. It's a cool piece of history there, and I'm sure you'll never forget.
Is Elso coming on?
He's not. He's got work to do today. He had to travel 4 or 5 hours or something to work. He's had a long day already. He says, "Afternoon, my fellow buddies, hit the like button. I have," and Beer Talk has responded, and he says, Jose, wow, a man of his word. He said yesterday that he'd be by to do this. So Jose, thanks for showing up. Thanks for the like and the comment. I truly appreciate you, buddy. I hope your day's going well. Hope work is not too terrible. So I kind of lost where I was. What were we just talking about? What was the last thing we were
talking about Mickey Hazard and that and going out. You know, back in those days you went back in even earlier down to the double side. I mean, they were still playing in 67. We beat Chelsea, but I'd only been 12 or 13. I mean, like, fans would meet Bobby Smith and out over the dog track, you know, having a bet and things like that, because these players, they weren't on the fantastic money now, and they weren't as distant as they are now from the fans. You know, you meet them on occasions, don't you? And greets and meets and things like that at the stadium, and when they're ambassadors and all that, you know. But other than that, the players are more distant from fans now, so, which is understandable
Right.
as well. So, but yeah, so, I've met
And it has to be that way. I think for player safety, and I think fans are a little more crazy than they were back in the day. Adrian, I think
there is
the
that
players
as well.
have become more superstars than back then when they were just regular, regular guys like us. Beer Talk says, Mr. Shoka, how do you feel about the style we were playing under Ange? Total football?
I love it. I don't know anybody who doesn't love it.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a good style. I mean, I'm still looking to see how we will adapt to enforced changes, like if a Basuma or a Madison's injured, things like that. Will Decky come into the middle and play as the 10? Or if it's one of Basuma or Madison, will they push Basuma forward and then bring in a Heuberg or a Skip, alongside someone? And also, come November before Christmas, I want to see Bentancur given game time before the players break and before we lose Son and Sarr and Basuma to the competitions in January. Even though the mid-season break. On the subject of that, though, as that mid-season break bites into those competitions, what got me thinking today was, the mid-season breaks aren't from the 14th of January to the 30th. And then two competitions are from roughly the 11th of 12th to the 10th and 11th of February, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So why couldn't we have overlapped our mid-season break over them two competitions completely? That would make logical sense to me. Not that there's much.
Well, that's why we couldn't do it, is because it makes logical sense.
Yeah. You'd think because it would benefit every team, especially all the top teams that are going to have players away on international duty. Why isn't it? You could completely overlap it because, say completely. Was it you're talking the 11th of February from where it's something like that? I think it's the 13th of January to the 11th of February. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so.
Yeah, there would still be.
It does roughly overlap them, actually. No, I'm talking rubbish. It does, because I think ours from the 14th to the 30th, so it does. So it does overlap them. Yeah, it's just not as long, obviously, because you've got potential for our players to be away for a month on them foreign competitions, whereas the other midwinter break is just a little over 2 weeks, isn't it? I think 16 days or something. So no, it does overlap.
I sound rude when I say this, Adrian, and I know it's because I'm not from any of the countries involved, but I don't care about international football, and I just want our boys. I hope. See, I'm torn because I want to say I hope their teams just get knocked straight out, but then you got to think, what's that going to do to their confidence? Is that going to hurt their confidence coming back to Spurs? But I hope that honestly they get knocked out as soon as possible and have to come right back.
I'm not a lover of the international break. The only time it has been helpful in the past is when you might have an injured player that might be fit in 2 weeks and back playing again for you. You know what I mean? When it suits us, I don't mind it. But most of the time, if everything's healthy at the club, I don't like it. And you'll find the same with most, I think, Premier League supporters. You'll have, obviously, the lesser teams in the lower leagues. They've got a lot of England fans because, they all live in hope of perhaps winning a cup, because we have had second division teams win cups before and things like that. But they know that supporting England is another good option for them if their hometown team who they support are not expected to do well, So, and England have done okay recently. They've done okay, but
Yeah, looking better than they have for as long as I can really remember. But NA Beer Talk saying he loves positionless basketball as well. It's very similar to total football. It's every player kind of plays every role. And he said basketball correlations is how he got his 82-year-old dad into soccer. That and making him watch his grandsons play in the club travel team. Yeah, the grandkids part will help a lot too. But that's awesome. 82 years old and into soccer. That is a rarity, at least in the U.S. A lot for some reason in the U.S. soccer is seen as like a weak guys sport. I think that's hilarious, but that's the way it's seen over here by a lot of older men. But that's just, which is a shame. But I just wanted to point out, and I'm not sure, I'll have to look up what this means, but I wanted to share this with you real quick. I just had it up for a second. It looks like NBC Sports voted us number 1 on Sports Power rankings. Again, I'm going to have to Google that and see what that means, but that sounds good. And then also another thing too is that Madison makes the England squad. I think to nobody's surprise. Do you think that Madison? Do you think? I mean, he'll play. I wonder how much he'll play. I think we'll finally with this learn how bad maybe his injury is.
I hope the fact that he's carrying a slight knock that gives Southgate the opportunity to think, right, I've got an excuse not to play him, even if he's in good form. That'd suit us to the T, wouldn't it? I mean,
absolutely.
So, yeah, I hope he doesn't play personally.
But if they ask him to, he will, because he's just like Jose was saying, he's just broken into the team. He wants to cement a spot. He should have been in the team long ago, for being honest, but he didn't play for a high-profile enough team.
Yeah.
So him and Sonny, it scares me. International duty scares me for those guys. I feel like they're both this close away from being like actually very injured, and I'd really not like them to push it over the line. But yeah,
we'll cope this season. Whatever's thrown at us, I'm confident. I'm optimistic we'll cope.
I'm really happy that we've got Basuma. Like Basuma coming out of his shell and playing like the Basuma we know gives me hope that if Madison does go down for any length of time, we've got Basuma to step in, or Decky, like you said, depending on how Postecoglou sees it. But Adrian, do you
change his style of play? No matter what issues we have to deal with at the club, whether it's injuries or suspensions, he will not change.
Yeah, he'd bring a youth player in. If he didn't have a player to fit the spot,
youngster in. If he needs that position filled, he'll do it. He's not going to change. 100%. He doesn't change for other teams. Other teams might change when they play us. Well, they'll have to. Some of them will have to. But like Ange will not change. So that is positive. And when you've got that belief, and you've got that belief, if you put a youngster in, that encourages that youngster to play with confidence and play their natural game. Which is what you want.
Yeah.
And if you lose a striker with Ange, well, as it's a team effort to score goals, look, you just got to compare it. I mean, look how many goals Sonny's got already this season, right? In so few games. Last year, it took him about 17 games to score this amount of goals. So,
he had such a slow start last season. Yeah. But I just love the fact that the goals are shared this season already. You know what I mean? Between quite a few players. And we were always going to need that. That was always going to be a necessity if you're going to lose. I honestly don't think we could have lost Kane under a better manager. I think Kane wasn't the best fit. I mean, obviously he would have played. He would be starting, I think, for Postecoglou right now if he was here, obviously. But that would have kind of necessitated Postecoglou changing up his style a bit, which we know he doesn't like to do. I just think we lost Kane at the best possible time. Good luck to him at Bayern. I haven't even checked to see exactly how they're doing. But have they played in the Champions League yet, Adrian? Do you know?
Yeah, didn't they beat Man United?
Oh, probably. Yes, they did. Okay. So that's good for him. Hopefully,
4-3, wasn't it? As I remember, yeah, it was 4-3.
Yeah. Yep.
So
Hopefully, hopefully he gets his
going to do well. They should make the last 4 with Kane. Once you get to the semi-finals, anything can happen in that league. Dodgy VAR or anything like it becomes Real Madrid and Barcelona. I mean, Barca have got a good young side now, as Jose said. Real have got a good side. Bayern are up there. I don't know how the Italian clubs are doing this year. How well Napoli are doing with Osimhen. All that. I mean, it's been a bit of a ruckus with.
Well, Napoli lost. They lost Ndombele, so they probably are hurting from that. Beer Talk saying Kane would have broken Alan Shearer's record this season for sure.
Yeah, probably. It would have gone close anyway.
Yeah. I'm wondering, I guess just with this style of football too, Beer Talk saying, with the amount of goals we're scoring as a team, probably so. But just real quick to talk about Bayern. I saw an interview the other day. I still try to like catch Kane at post-match interviews and just kind of see how he talks and what he's saying, and try to read body language and stupid stuff like that. But he was talking to Jamie Carragher, and Carragher had he had Thierry Henry sitting next to him, and the presenter, another one of the presenters, said, "Hey, you've got Thierry Henry here. We're talking to Harry Kane, two of the best, strikers, goal scorers that the Premier League has ever seen. Like, who do you think's better?" And Carragher said, "I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to go with Henry, but Kane, if you win the Champions League this year, then that changes, or you know what I mean. Then I'll change my answer." So it really, I mean, it is.
But that answer doesn't make sense, really, does it? Because Kane could win the Champions League without scoring a goal, so he wouldn't have improved on his record. I mean, these pundits, they do come out and they like to divide people, don't they? They come out and say, like, what would you rather leave, a trophy or a top four finish? And I would never answer those questions. I just say I don't answer divisive questions. You're asking, and they do it on the radio, to divide, because they want people to phone in. They want to provoke them and get a response to phone in. And they're always asking divisive questions, like that. Would you take top four over a trophy? No, I want both. You know what I mean? Like, so
exactly.
I want everything. Do you want top four? No, I want the quadruple. When we're in the Champions League next season, I want the quadruple. I don't want to muck about, with a League Cup. I want the league, the FA Cup, the League Cup, and the Champions League.
Luckily, I think Ange agrees with you. Again, looking at all these honors to his name, so many of them happening within the same year, which is awesome. I'm really excited to see what he can do. Do you think he's going to be the manager to finally bring a trophy back to White Hart Lane after all these years?
I've had a bet on Spurs to win the FA Cup this year. So, I mean, mind you, I had a bet on the League Cup as well. So,
yeah.
Well said. Yeah, talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No hiding that here. We all feel the same way, my man. We all feel the same way.
You've only got to win 6 games to win these cups. This is what, 6 games.
Yeah.
And you win the cup. So you just need a little bit of luck, no dodgy VAR decisions, And we know we can beat Man City. We know we can beat Liverpool. We know we can beat Arsenal. We should have won that game at Highbury, right? We beat Man United at home. I mean, don't get me wrong. We played in them sides again. They're equally capable of beating us. But we know we can give anyone a game, and on a day we can beat anyone. What's there to worry about? We will get Europe this year. We'll get it. I mean, even I'm confident we get Europe, even if we had a horrendous injury list the way we play, because we're not going to be that horrendous. We're going to lose half the team, but
right.
My tip is, I think I'm saying 3rd or 4th. Really, I think between us and Arsenal, 3rd or 4th. I think it'd be Man City, Liverpool. Then I think we'll see. But you could be football's made fools of all of us over the years, isn't it? But we'll see.
Always.
See if United can recover and make a good run. They're not going to stay down there. They're not going to. You
don't think? I don't know.
Ten Hag is not a bad manager. I like the way Ajax played when they came and beat us 1-0 at Lane before we beat them 3-2 away. I mean, he was on my list with Tuchel and Nagelsmann to be Spurs manager at one time. Before we went to your Contes and the Marinos, I didn't want them, because I knew it would end badly with them, and I knew
we were never going to get them the players that they required.
The football be crap, but the younger Spurs generations have probably not seen what I've seen. They thought winning our managers would get us a trophy. I didn't believe that, because I knew the squad weren't good enough, right? But under any of them, But Ange. Yeah, I'm loving the positivity and the vibes. I'm loving the fans are optimistic. We're ahead of where we want it to be. You could say, I think Ellie said in a post podcast, or someone else had to say that, we're about 6 months ahead of where we are. And actually, I agree with that. I think we are. I think it's so strange how we've hit the ground running, with these players. I mean, so hats off to the recruiting, which has been much improved. And long may
it continue. Whoa, we both said that at the same time. That's awesome.
Like fools seldom differ. So long may it continue, and no doubt we're scouting out players in South America and everywhere. So
Oh yeah.
and we adopt
Asian countries, I'm sure.
Yeah, we using these companies have got these. We're paying them to use their analytics to get players, and then you use the eye test and go and watch them. Send scouts to watch them as well. Pound of beer for me. Yes.
He might. He just might. He just might. Donna.
So,
Yeah. But yeah, exactly. And we've got all this data analytics and all this stuff coming, into the recruiting and scouting processes. So hopefully that, helps in AI or whatever it takes.
And what they did was, which we didn't have before, Dean Rastrick's gone, I think, from the academy. I'm sure he's gone. And
what was his role before? Sorry,
we had a fixed pay structure for bringing in good talent. We had a ceiling on it, and we wouldn't pay it. Now we do. We're starting bringing in all these good players in. Like we got Ashley Phillips and all this. We started paying, and we were investing in the academy, and we had some good players already. Not last year's mainly under 21s, but now we had some good players already, and now we've added to them.
Mm-hmm.
We brought in Phillips, haven't we?
Yeah.
Donnelly's not been there too long, couple of seasons, I think. He's a Northern Ireland striker, come midfield or whatever, where he can play in multiple roles, really.
Yeah, he's tearing it up. He's tearing it up for them. He's looking really good.
But they all are. Santiago, Will Lancashire, another striker. Noel John in midfield. He got one the other day as well. Like there's a good crop. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just wanted to pull this up. You're 100% right, though. Everything's looking good. We're looking good for years to come with the new 16-year-old defender. I mean, we're really making moves for the long-term future, which I like. But I just wanted to point out that is Davinson Sanchez right there on a team of the week for the Champions League, and I think that's hilarious. Who would have thought that Big Dav would ever make a Champions League?
He got 2 assists, didn't he, against Man United for Galatasaray?
Yes, he did.
I didn't watch the game. I mean, I could stream it if I want, but
sometimes
I just want to break from football with all the podcasts and all that,
For sure, you spend a lot of your time, talking about it and watching it. So I don't blame you one bit. But yeah, he played a really good. Well, shit, I say he played a really good match. He got those 2 assists, but he was directly at fault for one of the goals, which sounds about right. You know what I mean? That's about par for the course for him. But he fell over, just like tripped over himself and left his man open, who ended up scoring. Love watching the football again. Yeah, me too. And I love that you spelled it the South American way. I feel like we've got a little bit of South American swagger to our game right now. It's not rigid. It's not traditional. Like hoof it over the top. We're playing with like a nice passing game. Players aren't afraid to try little flicks and tricks. Beer Talk disagreeing. He didn't have a good game other than the goal contributions. But Galatasaray fans are really happy with him, and I've even heard some of them happy with Ndombele as well. So, God, hope that stays. Hope they go ahead and keep him. But guys, we are pretty close to ending the show. It's been an hour and a half of good talk with Adrian and Carl here. I just wanted to throw this up. We're only 19 subs away from 300, which has been our goal for a while now. We are at 281. We are climbing up and up and up. If you could please show this to a friend. Post a link to this video in any Spurs groups you're in. Just do anything to kind of help out. It's super helpful. A like on the video is huge too. So if you could do that, I would be so appreciative. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. And also I wanted to throw out Adrian, my guest here. He's got his own Facebook group that he has, and he's got lots and lots and lots of members. Is it 7,000 or 12,000? I always get this.
I think we're about 12,300 now, something.
Sheesh. Guys, everybody go to this group here. I'll put it in the chat as well, so it's easier to copy and paste for you guys. This is Adrian's YouTube group, or sorry, I always say YouTube, Facebook group. And it's got tons of members. It's a really cool place to be with if you want to converse and talk and be around like-minded people. There's tons of
Yeah,
of
but
fans
get your friends to
and
come
stuff
here
like
first and subscribe. I'm trying to help Colin and Jose boost their
that.
growing channels because they haven't been going that long. I've been going over 4 years, so mine looks
You're a
after
good man.
basically. So yeah.
You're a good man. Well, and speaking of which, Jose, who's not here today, who usually is but had to work, how dare he have to do that and not be here? His YouTube is youtube.com/@eltelcockerel, where you get a unique perspective. He is a man who is from Spain, and he gives a unique perspective on Spurs, with his unique perspective that we don't all share, being not from Spain ourselves. So check it out. He's got always some good info, some good scouting on some players. He's very intelligent man. Just go check out his channel, everybody. And I just wanted to say, ooh, look at this, Mr. Soka. If I get back on Facebook, I'll definitely join. Well, yeah, please do. And I also wanted to just throw this out there. Time to be a slag. Channel. We've got a Patreon for the channel since we don't do super chats or Facebook memberships or YouTube memberships. Jesus, words are hard today. But we don't do YouTube memberships or super chats due to not having the correct amount of subscribers yet. So if you would like to contribute to the show in any way, check out that Patreon thing. There's 3 membership options as low as $2 a month. There's some cool stuff that comes with them. You might say, how is this much stuff possible at only $2 a month? Great question. It's just a great deal. Definitely check it out. If you can do it, great. If you can't, no worries at all. But I just wanted to say, so far, our 2 patrons are Chris Peters and Wayne Bonner. Big shout out to them. I got this new light in front of me.
Yeah.
Got this flag back here. I had to fold it up and kind of put it in a weird spot for now, but I got this flag back here. Really getting the place looking nicer. So thanks to those guys. And if you can help. And if you can't, you're already helping by watching and liking and subscribing. So thanks for that. You can
find me on Twitter, guys, as well. Under my
look at this. Yeah.
Under that
Adrian _Stroka. Yeah, exactly.
And there's a link to the Facebook group from there anyway. It's in there, so.
Awesome. All right. Well, hey, I just want to say real quick, thank you again to everybody. As I put down here on the bottom, today is your day. Go out there and get it. I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and do something nice for a stranger. I always say that, but it feels good, and it'll help make the world a better place. Just a small thing at a time. Beard Talk's following you on Twitter. All right. Well, any last final words, Adrian, before we pop off here today?
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. Let's go. Taking a long time to end today.